A cannibal sickness lurks at the heart of Necromunda, like a festering wound that will never heal. It is the great cycle of existence that rules over all who serve the Imperial House, the denizens of the hive either feeding on their predecessors or feeding the living with their own dead flesh. Corpse grinder cults are a byproduct of this brutal necessity, charged with the grim task of recycling their fellow hivers into corpse starch. The great houses of Necromunda are very familiar with the corpse grinder cults, for they are a plague that rises from within the mortuary combines and corpse guilds with regular frequency. Even in the unrelenting horror of the hive, those forced to recycle corpses sometimes rebel against reality, losing their sanity amongst the whir of the meat saw and wet crunch of the bone grinders. Where once a creature of reason and temperance stood, now a hollow shell, consumed by hunger, remains, the perfect vessel for the corrupting touch of chaos to infect. Corpse grinder cults often start within the hallowed ranks of the corpse guilds. From among the toiling workers, a leader will arise. Whether these deranged individuals draw the gaze of the blood god with their cannibal madness, or if it is the influence of the dark gods who turns honest men to feast upon the cutting floor, is unclear. The result, however, is the same. Over time, a cult leader will become stronger and more ravenous, the growling voice of Khorne driving them to murder so they may feast upon warm and bloody flesh. About these debased leaders, deviant cults are formed. Prospective followers might be drawn from within the mortuary manufactorums or from the greater hive populace. At first, trusted members are inducted, offered a taste of the gory bounties smuggled out of production lines. Thus are entire families and hab communities corrupted, most knowing that only the meat gives them strength and endurance like nothing they have ever known, unaware of the dark blessings surrounding their cult leader. Under the nose of the guild overseers, the cult grows, knowing full well that should it be discovered, it will be purged without mercy. Hungry for the power the cult offers, others join, gathering in secret meetings and donning butcher's garbs, mask, robes and jewelry made from the remains of their meals. In these hidden places, the cults worship the Lord of Meat, the head butcher, feeding the followers with chunks of weeping flesh drawn from mounds of still warm corpses. As the cult is fed on meat, so too does the head butcher feed the faithful on promises of freedom and power, echoing the whispered voice in their own head. Slowly, the cult begins to gather weapons and fresh recruits, a single word upon their lips: uprising. When at last the corpse grinders are ready to rise up, they emerge from their hidden fanes in their thousands, their bodies grown hard and muscular upon a diet of forbidden flesh. They are hivers no more. Their former workers and clanmates fall beneath their blades, adding more meat to the feasting tables and causing the power of the blood god to wax ever stronger. As their rebellion spreads out into the hive, open warfare takes hold, and the fragile order of the Imperium breaks down. All citizens of the hive are then faced with a choice: join the corpse grinders' uprising and partake of their forsaken bounty, or become their next meal. At the heart of every corpse grinder cult stands the Harvest Lord, a blood-soaked demagogue of prodigious power. Should the cult be successful in its cannibalization of the hive, then the Harvest Lord will become a vessel for one of the Blood God's demons, a living embodiment of the Lord of Skin and Sinew. Under the thrall of this insane individual are scores of butchers, talented murderers, and savage fighters. Touched by the power of the Dark Gods, each of these gang members has a connection to the Harvest Lord by profane ritual. Below these chaos-tainted madmen, the teeming masses of the cult begin. Some unaware of the true power behind the rebellion. Cutters are lieutenants to the butchers, keeping the lower ranks in line. Garbed in fearsome panoply, they carry the best looted weapons or the largest blades. Then there are the Skinners, initiates and acolytes who have partaken of the first feast, and grown stronger as a result. Among the Skinners, sometimes there will be the bloodied and unbloodied, a distinction made between those within the cult who have eaten the living flesh of a defeated foe, and those who have yet to earn this honor. Regardless of rank, however, all corpse grinder cultists are bound together by madness and devotion to the Lord of Meat once they have fed on the unprocessed flesh of their fellow hivers. Corpse grinder cults fight as a rebel army, their weapons scavenged from imperial authorities, house gangs, or forged in secret workshops. These can range from simple stub pistols to heavy ordnance, depending on what each cult can get its hands on. Supplementing this arsenal, the cult retains many of the tools of the corpse trade: powered meat saws, amputators, and flensing knives, all repurposed as deadly weapons. These serrated and spinning blades will allow the cult members to quickly turn a felled foe into a meal, greedily ripping off bloody strips of muscle and skin before jamming it in their mouths. Over the centuries, countless corpse grinder cults have plagued the hives of Necromunda. Lord Helmar has gone to great lengths to conceal their presence from the greater Imperium, scrubbing them from history just as his enforcers expunged them from existence. While hives and settlements can be cut off and starved into silence, rumours seem to be carried by the ash winds on Necromunda, and are much harder to suppress. The first corpse grinder cult ever recorded, or so the legend goes, was during the Great Road War, when many hives were still to be brought under a unified control of the Imperial House. Out amongst the wastes, grave robbers picked over the remains of battles, repurposing the fallen to feed their cannibal clans. Their leader was an ash rider by the name of Waz Bonepicker, a savage blessed by the Lord of Meat. Even centuries later, corpse grinder cults are raised in the name of the Bone Picker, their icon a bladed wheel mimicking the great machines of the ancient Ash Rider clans, and the tools of their grim trade. Since the days of the Bone Picker, countless cults have risen and fallen. During the Hive Minerva famine, many hivers turned to cannibalism, and the corpse grinder cults gained a foothold within the hive's walls. Some say Lady Helmar's refusal to relieve the hive's torment by allowing orbital craft to ferry in supplies had less to do with maintaining her monopoly on off-world trade, and more on starving out the cults she secretly knew existed. There are those that whisper that the corpse grinders are not merely another subversive cult, that they worship a single malign entity of ancient and terrible origin. They believe that the Lord of Skin and Sinew, so recently emerged in Hive Arcos, has walked the wastes of Necromunda before. Spotted icons and ancient texts speak to this truth, hinting that the true power behind the cult is a powerful demon somehow tied to Necromunda, perhaps eternally seeking escape, or to transform the world into its own personal realm of blood and hunger.